Okay then guys, so I'm gonna just put my beads back in here. Could have done that before I started filming maybe. Oh well. Right, okay. So the first thing we're going to start off with is to make the horn for the unicorn. So I've got a piece of fabric. So this could be anything. You can use an old top, you can use some cotton. This is just cotton from the shops. Now, if I get my tape measure, I can tell you how wide this triangle is. So it is 6.5 inches wide and 6.5 inches tall. So when you're drawing this, I tend to use scrap paper. So all I would do is map out that. So I would have that it's 6.5 long to 3.25 wide. And then when you open it out, it will be that. Okay, so that's what you want. Now you can hand stitch that. That's not a problem. Hand stitch it shut all the way along. However, that's going to take you some time and you're going to have to do a back stitch. So to save time for me, I've already done one. I've used my sewing machine. So that's me having already done it. So it's gone from that to folded to stitched. So what I now need to do is turn it the right way around. So this is the inside out. So when I say the right way around, it's the way that I want it to be on the outside. So obviously I don't want to see any seams. These are seams. This is what a seam is. This bit here. So I don't want to see any seams on this. It can be quite fashionable sometimes to see the seams on the outside. Totally fine. We've got clothes like that. But for this instance, not so much. Now when you get to the horn, the very top of the horn, you can just tease it out really carefully, be really gentle, so that you get a really nice clean tip. So that's that. Then once you've done that, you'll want to add some stuffing. So I've got some here. I'll probably need some more than this, but always when you're doing your stuffing, pull it out. Make it a lot fluffier, take a small bit and just pop it right to the top. If you struggle to get to the top, really carefully, use some scissors, but be gentle with that. And then just carry on stuffing. So you want it to have some strength to it. You don't want it too flimsy. But you also don't want it too jam-packed that it becomes really lumpy and bumpy. Really firm. So, keep going. So yeah, like I say, you could make pink horns. You could pick up some different coloured fabric, whether that be from the fabric shop or whether that just be from a charity shop and just use someone's old t-shirt. That's from a previous project. Take these strings out. Let's fluff it up. Now you don't want to go right to the bottom, you want to leave yourself some extra fabric because you're going to turn that under. So it's about there so far. I'm just going to put just a tinsy bit more in. Come on. So there you go. It's pretty firm, pretty smooth. I'm going to use that as the back. That's going to be the back of my horn where the seam is. And I filled it to about there, which will squash down a little bit. But what I'll do later on is I'll turn them under so that I have a nice neat edge. So, neat time to thread a needle and then we'll stitch it to the headband. Okay, so we're going to thread our needle. and if you've seen me doing any sewing before, you'll know how I like to do it. So we'll double it up and then tie a knot in the end with the 2 doubled. So with the 2 together, pinch the tip so that it doesn't go past. Trim off the excess, and away we go. So what we need to do now is just tuck them in. So I've said this is going to be the back. So I'm going to fold my fabric in. Now I might just have a little too much in there. I'm just going to halve that, I think. So I've got plenty of room to tuck it in. Like I said, that's going to be the back. It's really difficult to not do this on camera. That's alright. So there's halfway. There it is. And so I'm going to start this corner. I'm going to get my needle. I'm going to go through that hole, that loop, and then tie it together. And all I'm going to do is what they call a slip stitch. Going to slip stitch together. What I'm going to do is just pop it into my headband first, and roughly get it into the middle and slip stitch across. So I'll come to here, stitch through and close, go across, come together and close. This will be the bit that sits on your hair, so you don't have to worry about it being too neat. It is quite tricky, so don't get frustrated, don't get upset if it takes you a couple of attempts. I've been doing this a long time, and even I get it wrong, so don't worry. I'll not tell you how often I get it wrong, but I do get it wrong. It's generally quite a lot. So I'm just going to slip stitch it shut. You can do it where you don't see the stitches, kind of like an invisible stitch. But I've done that on a couple of them, but it really doesn't matter. It's not really worth the frustration of doing it. Now, if you want to secure it in place, if you're confident that your horn is in the centre of your headband, then you can stitch through the fabric of the headband. However, I'm never very confident, so I tend to leave mine loose, and then I will stitch everything together when I pop my flowers on. So, what we'll do now I've got that, tie it together and I'll tie it off. So it gives you a really nice neat edge, keeps it nice and tidy, stops it fraying. I know I've made it look easier than it maybe is for you, or maybe you're super brilliant and you've got a super brilliant helper that can just do it anyway. I've got a little loop there. It's come from. This one's where it's come from. Let's pull it back through. There we go. And then my usual trick, I'm going to go through over to there, pull it tight, snip it, and then it'll get lost in there. Okay, so now we'll do the ears. Okay then, so now we need to do the ears. Now I've got a template of the ears here, so I usually use scrap paper. So this is just from an old diary that I had. Folded it in half, drew roughly the ear shape that I wanted, which was, I'll show you, which was that shape. Half of it, and then it opens up. But I've added a little bit extra so that it can go around the headband. So when you then put that on your fabric, and you fold your fabric, put it on, pin it and cut round, it then opens up to do that. So for example, bit of your fabric, fold it, put your ears on, your ear. If you put this bit on your fold, don't cut that bit because that bit's this bit here. Don't cut it, and then that will stay intact and it will open up. So do not cut that bit. Now it might be easier for you to pin it. I have some pretty helpful scissors here. You don't have to be perfect, don't worry about that. And then snick into that, and that, and that, and that. And then when you open it out, you'll have your ears. Just then have a quick check, see if there's anywhere that needs trimming or just neatening up. It's quite nice to work with this felt, so it doesn't fray. So then you can either hand stitch those shut, or if you're like me and you've got a sewing machine, I've already got some done from earlier, you can machine stitch them shut, just like that. Trim off the ends, trim off the ends. Then all you need to do is just slide them on, just like that. If you're going to hand stitch them on, then you can hand stitch them straight over over the headbands. So you can literally wrap them around and then stitch them on, which can be done. It is easy. Well, it is easy enough to do, to put that onto there. You can just do a little running stitch all the way along, but it just saves time for this video to just kind of put them on. So now what we're going to do is, I've decided I want pink to run around to make the twirl on the unicorn. So I'm going to thread up my needle and then I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I've got my needle threaded up, double as ever. So what we're going to do now, I might have made this slightly too long. Just going to make it a little bit shorter. If you make it too long, then it gets tangled up quite easily. So just trim it down. There we go. Okay, so we're going to add the twirly bit onto the unicorn horn. If I show you what I mean, this bit, we're now going to add that onto here. So what we want to do is find the centre. I've gone for a different colour rather than purple. I want to try one that's got a different thread compared to a headband. So find the centre, and then what you want to do, now quite often mine do snap, so don't be surprised if they do, is to just start spiralling them around and give them a slight tug as you're going along. Nothing too firm, just enough to create a nice little dent. If you go round and round, then what you'll need to do, because what will happen is they'll start sliding off the top, you will need to just run a thread through. So the best way to do this is to just pop a little one running through there if you can. Whoops. Try not to tangle all your threads up, which is what I've literally just done. Bear with me 1 second. There we go. As we get to there, that stops that sliding off. And we're going to do the same again, slightly higher up. Just here. And so we'll finish it off on the seam there. Put the needle through. Check that it's okay before we tie a knot in. That looks okay. Tie a knot, so go back through. And then tie it off. So do this twice. Normally I do it 3 times with other things, but because this is on the outside, I'll do it twice. Once to tie it, twice to secure it. Then I'll go back through as near that hole as I can, up through the top, and do my usual trick of pulling slightly tighter and giving it a cut. And there you have it. So that's the twirl on the horn. Okay, so the next step is the flowers. Now I've got these from an old fancy dress kind of outfit, which is cool. Also, I like to collect old beads from jewellery or from clothes that I've had, or just things that I've been given. I've also got, I find hammer beads really helpful. I have lots of them from my niece and nephews who have kind of outgrown them before they've finished using them, so that's okay. So I've got one of each colour. Some people like to use all the same colours or alternate them or whichever, but I've got all the same colour, so it's completely up to you how you put them on. So there's 6, so there's going to be 2 on here, 2 on here, and 2 on here. So if we start, what I will do is make sure I go through the front and the back. So if we go through, now what you can do, if you're happy with where your horn is sat and how your ears are sat, if it's a fabric headband, you can catch some of the fabric on your way back through, just to help keep it in place. So I think I'm going to start with a orange. These could really probably have done with an iron. I should really iron them, I suppose. Oops. Coat there. Thread it on. Feed it through and go right to the back. I think I'm going to keep all mine as yellow centres, I think. You can do whatever colour centres you like. I think I'm going to stick with yellow. So obviously that's the back, because that's where the seam is. I decided I wanted my back to be. Sorry, I've gone very quiet because I'm totally concentrating right now. Okay. So it's always worth saving some jewellery, either of your mum's or grandma's. Obviously don't take anything apart that they don't want you to, or that maybe could be quite expensive and they want to resell. But anything they're not too precious about, or anything that's potentially going to go in the bin, then maybe you could use it for a project. Obviously if not, then you might donate it to the charity shop, but rather than it go in the bin, see what you can do with it. It's quite nice. Turn it over, thread through, and then you want to tie it. One, two, and a third one. Send it through. And then cut. If you don't want this kind of mess towards the back, then you can come through and then slide between. So you can slide between these two bits. However, it's absolutely cool. It's fine. And then there you go. Your perfect little unicorn headband.